Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to Bhakti Yoga, J. Lakhani Hindu Academy. So, well, this is a pretty straightforward title, Bhakti Yoga. Alright, that's devotion. Devotion. Let's see what he has to say about it.
So now the most popular pathway the Hindus have adopted for thousands of years is the path of bhakti, path of devotion. And why is this so important and why is this so interesting? Where does bhakti spring from? And people say, Dilip, is there a particular open university course where I can learn how to be devoted to God? How can I develop devotion? I said, no, there is no such thing. Devotion is something that springs out naturally. This is why it's so unique. You don't have to develop devotion. Some individuals, right from birth, from very young age, are attracted to this idea of God as a personality, and the tremendous devotion just flows out of the system. They don't know where it comes from. They just fall in love with God. This is the path of bhakti. The reason why it is perhaps the easiest path, it comes most naturally. Either you are devoted by nature, you've got a devotional character by nature, so it comes naturally. You don't have to worry. That's your nature. In fact, most of your parents and grandparents were attracted to religion because this is what happened to them.
It's really weird to say if that's how you are naturally, to just be devoted. To me, for some weird reason, that in my mind, that almost brought up that if you're naturally a follower, meaning that you're willing to follow. I don't know, that's very strange. But at the same time, again, I guess this is the thing that I've said before, is the fact that just don't be a fool. And what I mean by that is just don't follow anyone. Don't just because someone says something, don't follow it. Question it. Make sure that you also believe in it. And don't be taken advantage. And the fool is don't be taken advantage of. Follow if you genuinely believe it, and be wary about being taken advantage of. That is my biggest worry about Bhakti Yoga. Is people follow gurus, and there are fake gurus out there, and people just blindly follow them because they genuinely believe in them. Now, I don't know how you tell whether they're a fake guru or not. You just have to kind of listen to gurus, and if they make a lot of sense, then I do believe them to be genuine. But if they say things that seems to be just like hot topics or something, I don't know. I mean, maybe it makes sense, but then at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. Don't think I've seen a fake guru yet, but I would assume they're just busy trying to sell stuff, you know. And I that's what I do kind of worry about, like people sell stuff. Well, I mean, sorry, I was thinking and trying to speak at the same time, but people like they develop this following, they speak good words, and also like, by the way, buy my pencil. I'm sorry, pen. It could be a pencil too. As a matter of fact, I will make that, and then you can buy the pencil too. But buy my pen at the moment. It will make you more bhakti. And that's what I worry about.
For them, devotion is the natural flow of religion. They just felt attracted to this idea of God as a personality, depending on their own backgrounds. So this was the most easiest pathway, if you like, the most natural I can use. I don't like to favor one pathway or other, but I'm just simply saying, if you are devotional by nature, this pathway suits you. So don't feel at all that, oh, this is perhaps not so intellectual. It's emotional, it's emotive, so be it. This is part of our structure. We have got this idea of emotions, drives. And if these drives are trying to make you spiritual or relate to religion, allow it to flow. Don't block it. Don't undermine it. Don't underestimate it. When you meet any devout Hindu who is in love with the idea of God as Shiva or whatever, bow down. You see, these guys are lucky. Devotion is flowing naturally from their system. They are automatically getting linked to the higher ideals, deeper vision of what humanity is all about. Allow for it. This is the path of bhakti. How does it happen? How do you practice it? They say, first of all, you of course are strongly attracted to the idea of religion in a very personalized manner. Vishnu, Shiva, Ram, Krishna, Ganesh, whichever form, Mother Goddess. So what you do is, you try and develop a relationship with this particular super personality. And the magnanimous religion we have allows us variety of different ways of linking with this personality. Again, it shows the variation within the bhakti movement. There is a variation already there. It's a variation? How is that? In the Hindu tradition, you can link to the super personality like a father figure, like Christianity. God is like my father. You see this wonderful, example of how Dhruv thinks of Vishnu like his real father. So you can think of God as, if you like, ultimate reality as your real father in heaven. This is acceptable, one way, just one way. You can think of God not as a father figure, you can think of God as your mommy, your mother. And the best example is my mentor, Ramakrishna. He never liked the God like father. He said, God is my mommy, I love God, mommy. So this is his way. God is your mother. You see, when I talk to Christian lobby, and when I go to a lot of primary schools, Christian primary school, Catholic primary schools, and I tell them, why should God be your daddy in heaven? Daddies are so rough and tough and so hairy. Why can't God be your mommy? They are sweet and kind and cuddly and hopefully less hairy. And the children say, yeah, why didn't we think about that? And they go straight home, skipping, going, mommy, mommy, I just learned something. I can think of God like my mommy in heaven. Where did you get that from?
Oh.
This is the Hindu variation. Not God as your father in heaven. God is your mommy in heaven. What's wrong? See, equality coming naturally, not being imposed by political things. Equality for the sexes. It's just natural. Think of the ultimate reality as female. You can think of God as father, mother. It doesn't stop there. In the Hindu tradition, you can think of God as your friend. You say, friend? Yes, you can play football with God. Football with God, yes. God is your best friend. And the best example we have is the idea of Krishna and Arjun. They're friends, Sakha. You can think of God. See, I'm showing you the variation within the Bhakti movement. You can think of God, different kind of approach. Why different? Because I somehow don't like God as a father, I like God like mommy. See, it appeals to me, so that's my way. You can think of God in the Hindu tradition as your sweetheart. People shudder. Where are we going? Bollywood now? Dancing girls? What's going on? No. When you think of God as your sweetheart, it's not physical thing we are, promoting. It is this love of the love, your love of your life. God is your sweetheart. And the best example we have is Meera. It doesn't go like a father. She's a sweetheart. Again, allowed in Hindu tradition. Others will shudder. Oh, you can't do that. Not physical lovey-dovey. It is real love as your, if you like, companion, as your partner. Does it stop there? I told you, we are greedy people. We like to think God in many different ways. We are very vast and majestic and greedy in the nicest way. So we say you can think of God like an elder person, friend. You can think of God as your master. And say the Islam tradition prefers that. God is your master. You are the servant. And the best example in Hindu tradition is Hanuman. He doesn't think of God. He says, God, you are the master, I am your servant. Tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. You can think of God, have that relationship with God. But one of the sweetest relations you can have with God in the Hindu tradition, which I like very much, is this. Not God is grown up with hairy chest and all that.
Oh, boy.
God is a little baby. God is a baby? Yes. Because when you think God is an adult, you are under his control. He says, I'm your father, I'm your mother. When you think God is your baby, imagine what a variation. Because now God is not in charge of you, you are in charge of God. Have you seen some of these elderly ladies who think of God like a little baby Krishna or baby Ram? The love is pouring out of their eyes. And they look at this little image of Ram or Krishna and say, this is my Lala, this is my Lala. And they'll say, no, I told you, no mischief. I told you, don't wet your nappies. I'm getting tired of changing your nappies. They'll talk to God like that. If you do it again, if you're naughty, Krishna, I'm going to smack your bottom. They talk to God like that. So poor God is under the charge of the devotee. See the variation. I'm just showing the vastness of this tradition. Allows you to build different relationship with the idea of God, using different approaches, father figure, mother figure, master, sweetheart, friend, and a child. And you see a little bit of this reflect in the Christian tradition. When you come to, the Christmas Eve and etc., you see little baby cries, and you see that same pouring out of love for a little baby, helpless baby in your arms. So it is visible in other religions too. But this is the vastness of this religion. Allows a variation of approaches in bhakti. Not just one approach, you must do this. Depending on your own temperament, you may decide to link up with the idea of God in the way that suits you, your own temperament.
I'm wondering, so this is the thing that I genuinely do like about Hinduism, is the sheer fact that, what do I say, it's a customized path, and you make the customization, but it's more along the lines, it's I won't say it's what suits you, but it's what feels right to you. It's what feels right that makes you do better. And whatever that path may be, it's pretty good. But like Western religion or Abrahamic religion is very strict. It is very rigid, and there's not much maneuverability. You're under this one path road, and you can't deviate off of that. Otherwise, you're bad. And that's so restricted. That's the thing I didn't like about it. And there are a lot of people out there who struggle with it. And I think, well, definitely Hinduism is definitely a good way, but I mean, it's just not very popular in the U.S. Now, I don't know. I don't know how much that's changing. I know I've starting to hear a lot of people are spiritual. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. They just say they're spiritual. When I ask them what does it mean, it's like, well, I believe God's everywhere. I'm like, okay. I remember first hearing that. I'm like, what does that even mean? So is there a God or is there no God? They couldn't really answer the question, but they just said God's everywhere. So again, it's more like they believe in it, but they don't understand why. And that's, I guess, the problem I had with it when I first experienced that with someone who was spiritual. But yeah, I forgot where else I was going with that. I was going with another direction with that one. But anyways, let's continue on. Oh, by the way, there's no CC. Don't know why.
Now there's another part of bhakti that I must focus on. So you think of God like a personality and build relationship with God as your father, your mother, your child. And why is it important? If you want spirituality to flow in your system, these kind of daily linkages with the super personality through worship. You do worship in the morning. You will not eat until you feed God first. All these are one way of engaging your whole life toward the idea of spirituality. So you think of God as a personality, build certain relationship with that God, and then engage your routine life by interacting with this personality. So, you feed God, you worship God, you sing His songs, you recite His stories. This is the way the Bhakti movement carries on. What a marvelous way, most natural way. Let me now go a stage further. There are two kinds of bhaktas. You say two kinds? Again, you see different flavors. We like to classify things. We're very good at that. There are those bhaktas, and this comes from Bhagavad Gita. It's very sweet, and I use this example again and again because it's very nice of distinguishing different levels of bhakti, different levels of devotion. Now, Krishna says, I've got 4 kinds of bhaktas. 4 kinds of bhaktas? Devotees is classifying them in the Bhagavad Gita. The first one are those who are in severe need, who are in distress. If you are in distress and if you think God is your real father and mother, why shouldn't you not turn to Him and say, please help? So they are in distress, they are in duress, and they cry out to me. Why not? I'm the real father, the real mother. Why shouldn't they do that? There is one kind of thing, who are in distress, who are in duress. Then he said, there are second kind of devotees I have, and he must be talking about the Gujaratis. He said, they are artharthi. They want to do business with me. Commercial chaps. And I'm a Lohana, I know exactly what he means. So they like to do business. They say, God, if my son gets a star in all the A levels and then goes to Oxford University, I'm going to send you a whole bag of rice at that particular temple. I won't mention any temple, at that temple. And then, of course, the son gets to Oxford and that bag of rice has to go. They are doing business, commerce. Now this magnanimous God says, you want to do business with me? I'm happy. Come on, let's trade. These are artharthi, that's the Sanskrit term. They've got artha, they want to make some money out of you. They want to do commerce. And we do commerce with other things. Why not with God? God says, go for it. There are third kind of devotees. These are called jignasu. Jignasu means, in rude English word, nosy parkers. They say, are you therefore real, God? I'm just curious. I'm inquisitive. Do you really exist? Who are you? Where are you? Through inquisition, through this inquiry, if you like, the rude word is nosy parker. They like to think about God. Who is this chap? They want to inquire. They are the jignasus, the third kind of devotees. They are also devotees, but they are still, who is he exactly? Where is he? What does he do? So these are the 3 kind of devotees. He said, but the 4th one are the best of the best. The 4th devotee is very close to me, says Krishna. The 4th kind of God, the 4th kind of bhakta, is very interesting. These people are called Parabhakta, means highest bhakti, not ordinary bhakti. The other three are considered ordinary bhaktas, acceptable, but the fourth are supreme, the sweet, the Parabhakta. What is the difference? The Parabhaktas are those devotees who do not want to do business with God, who are not saying, oh Lord, help me, I'm in trouble, I'm in distress, you are the fourth emergency service I have after fire brigade ambulance, and then I say, oh Lord, sort me out. So I'm not in distress, I'm not trying to do business with you, I'm not just curious, I just love you, I can't help myself. I love you because I just can't help myself.
I will say, those first three are very questionable because they seem to be kind of the transactional portion where, like, oh, I need help. Now I believe you. Or it's like, okay, well, let me trade you my pen and then, make me successful and then I will trade you my pen. And then the other one being, I forgot what the other one was, but it's all transactional, which is very questionable. It's like, why do you need to transact to be devoted? I've always thought of Bhakti as being the fourth one, where you just, if it happens, it happens, good or bad. That is all God's will. So why would you need to do transactional stuff to say, hey, again with the pen example, it's like, hey, give me something good, I'll give you my pen, like the bag of rice, or the using God as the last resort. Hey, again, it's still transactional. It's like, oh, I love you even more if you heal my wounds. Well, I can't remember what the third one was. Or yeah,
I can't help myself. I love you because I just can't help myself. These are Parabhaktas. And this is the most natural, the most powerful devotion you can have. Because this devotion doesn't come with any extra, requirements. It just flows. It's the most natural thing you possess. So the most natural devotion flows in your system and links you with God. And I must mention this particular example in the Mahabharata story about the Parabhakta. Who is this Parabhakta? The story of Mahabharata you already know, of course. The 5 Pandava brothers are always in distress, they're always in trouble, they're being kicked out of the kingdom, they're wandering about incognito. And once these 5 brothers were living under the foothills of the Himalayas, and Yudhishthira, the eldest brother, is highly devoted to God. He loves God. So every morning they're in tatters, they don't know where their next meal is coming from, but they're in tatters, they're in real distress. And this Yudhishthira every morning gets up, oh Lord, I love you. Oh Lord, you are so merciful. Oh Lord, you are so lovely. And this Draupadi saying, this husband of mine is not right. I must put him right. Like it's normal for all wives. Put the husband right. So that I must put him right. This guy is getting out of hand now. He said, come, I want to ask you, my husband, one question. Look, we are in tatters. We don't have food. We are hiding in the forest. We are in such distress. And you say, oh Lord, you've done such good for us. I love you, oh Lord. Why? What a pointed question. And Yudhishthira gives the most beautiful answer a Parabhakta will say. He said, oh Queen, listen to me. We are sitting at the foothills of these mountains, the Himalayas. These mountains do nothing for me. They don't give me food or nothing. But when I look at the majesty of the mountains, my heart is stolen. They don't do anything for me. But I can't help but love this. In the same way, this Lord, whether He does something for me or doesn't do anything for me, I just can't help myself but love. I have no choice in the matter. This is a Parabhakta. He's not out to do business with God. He's not calling out to God because he's in distress. He's not just curious about God. He's in love with God for the sake of that. There's nothing else. There's no other reason why. For the sake of love, he loves. He can't help. This is the lovely word is, you can't help yourself. These are Parabhaktas. And you do find them. You are so fortunate. You don't know how fortunate Hindus are. You don't just produce a Yudhishthira who lived 5,000 years ago. You produce modern Yudhishthis. You produce modern Parabhaktas who are not doing any business with God. They just love God. You can see it flowing. Like Gujaratis, Narsi Mehta. He was struggling all his life, but the love was flowing. Nothing would stop his love. He doesn't want to blame God for anything. The love is for the sake of love. This is Parabhakta. He said, you are spoiled for choice. You don't have these great personalities, great bhaktas who lived in ancient times. You produce modern ones. Every century produces such marvelous spiritual giants, these bhaktas in your tradition. You are fortunate. You can relate to their lives.
What he just said there kind of, for some odd reason, made me think of something. And that something is, I kind of appreciate people who are kind of like the last one. I forgot the third one was the fact of curiosity. It's like, is that really God? But the fourth one about being devoted, where they don't take, how do I say, they don't freaking blow up whenever something bad happens. They're like, oh my gosh, everything's ruined. They're like, well, stuff happens. You just gotta keep on trucking on. And I forget what the example I was thinking of, but it was just like how a lot of privileged people complain about the littlest things, and they're just like their life is over with. They make so much money, they have big houses, they have many cars, they have a lot of money, they afford the most expensive things, but the second that they get 3 ice cubes in the 4 in their cocoa mocha latte or whatever, and they just like, the world's over, they throw the things down, and like they're blowing up. I'm like, are you serious? And this goes back to entitlement and the lack of appreciation. And funny enough, that those two, the opposite of those two, seems to fall in line with devotion as well. You appreciate things, like you're saying. I appreciate the mountains, I appreciate all of that, and it's just so wonderful. Whether he does good or bad to me, I still appreciate the wonderful things in life. And he doesn't feel he's entitled to anything. That's something that I see a lot of. And, well, I won't say I see a lot of. I do see, actually, in my line of job, I see a lot of. But, and it's just so nice to have people who just genuinely appreciate. Actually, maybe I do see a lot of lack of appreciation and appreciation, actually. But yeah. But yeah, and that's the weirdest thing. Whenever that last example he gave about him, just about whether God's giving us food or not, the Himalayas, it's just beautiful, and I just can't help myself and appreciate people like that who appreciate life, who don't feel entitled, and yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. So you are just focused on the first pathway, the most easiest pathway Hindus adopted, called the path of bhakti. The reason why it's considered to be the easiest, because it comes naturally. You don't have to make effort. You just suddenly somehow you feel, it's your, not your intellect, your intuition that produces tremendous attraction to a super personality. Think yourself to be lucky. Never underestimate or undermine a real bhakta. These guys are lucky, we are not lucky. This intellect gets in our way. We can't relate to God. They can relate to God without any interference. They are very lucky, very few, but they are sweet people, very unusual people. They link up with God without any hassle.
Oh well. But yeah, that's another thing. Actually, what he just said is that they're lucky, and we have the intellect to block our minds. Which reminds me, I've said this before, but I'll say it on this one because he just literally said it and reminds me of it. Is that I remember some time ago, there were again, they made this claim. I don't know if it's true or not, but I can believe it to be true, and that is religious people tend to be happier than non-religious people. And I'm like, that can't be true. I was very much atheistic, and I still am. And it's like, that can't be true. Why is that? And I started thinking about it. It's like, I get it. It took me a little bit, and maybe a few minutes of thinking about it. But it's because they don't always have to think about the problem. They just kind of say, well, I'll let God handle it. It's like, well, I'll leave it in God's hand. They'll still do the best they can with what they got and what they can, but no more than that, because obviously they can't do any more than that. So if it ends up good, it's great. If it ends up bad, then well, it's bad. But people who don't believe in God, who are constantly things like, oh man, what can I do to fix it? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? I need to fix this. I have to fix this. I have to think of ways. I know there's a way. I have to think about it, and they're stressing out over it. Whereas people who are devoted to God, who like who was it that said this? Anyways, one of the Gurus or Swami where it says, well, I think it was actually Swami Sarvapriyananda. Anyways, it's like, well, if it's a problem, let God handle it. If it's great, let God handle it. It's just basically let God handle it. And I think there's still something that he didn't say there, but do the best you can, do what you can, and let God handle the results. I believe that's what was said too, is let God handle the results. Do the best you can, but let God handle the results. So if it ends up bad, well, it's bad. If it's good, it's great, kind of deal. Anyways, that's my reaction to Bhakti Yoga, J. Lakhani, Hindu Academy. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.